Ryan Jarrell here for MMA News, and excited to have my next guest on the show. He'll be back in action March the 23rd at UFC Vegas 88 when he takes on Trey Ogden. And of course, it's Kurt Holobaugh on the show. Kurt, how you doing, sir?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me on. Doing good. Happy. I finally got a fight.
Yeah, man. I know I was fortunate enough to talk to you just a couple days before you won the Ultimate Fighter. That was all the way back in August. So, what's the main reason for such a layoff? I'm sure you wanted to get in there a little bit sooner.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to get in a little bit sooner. I had plans on, you know, taking a few months off, spending Thanksgiving, spending Christmas with the family. I did say, hey, man, if I can get something on that final fight card of the year, in December 16th, I wanted it. Nothing came about. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll take the rest of the year off, hopefully get something January, February. Well, cards are filling up. So I'm like, all right. So, I started reaching out to my managers, Brian Butler, Brian Hamper, Chris Creech, Sucker Punch Entertainment. And I'm like, man, can we get things moving? Can we get something on the board? Give me something on the books. Like
Yeah.
that way I got something to look forward to. And, we talked back and forth quite a few times. And finally, just about a day or two ago, they called me and was like, all right, we got something for you. I said, you want it? I said, for sure.
Yeah, we're excited to see you back in there, man. With just how long you had to wait, now you're fighting in March. Did you almost kind of say, well, hey, just wait a little bit longer and get me on that UFC 300 card?
That'd be cool, but that card's gonna be so big, man. That might be a card. Now, don't get me wrong, it'd be awesome to fight. And if I get the opportunity, I don't turn fights down, I don't turn opportunities down. I would probably do it, But I got Trey in front of me right now, so that's my main focus. I'm not really focused on that. But if the opportunity come later, if this fight goes the way that I hope it goes, the way I plan on it going, maybe we can do a quick turnaround. But other than that, that's a cool card just to go to and just
Right.
be in the crowd for.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, you said you were able to spend time with the family around the holidays. How was all of that? Did you get to eat as much as you want to? Obviously, with not a fight happening for you immediately, I'm sure you got to indulge a little bit and have some fun.
Man, for sure. And to me, that's what it's all about, spending time with the family, cooking, eating. I got to have a great Thanksgiving. We had a great Christmas, you know. Um, got to eat anything I want. I had nothing on the books. And, I always do a good job on controlling my weight. Now, I'll get heavy here and there, but it's not like when I was fighting at 145 pounds. That's so much different. I don't even feel like I really struggle a lot to make 155. Even if I'm walking around at 185, tipping 190, I still don't stress. I still don't struggle. That weight comes off pretty easily. So, yeah, man, I enjoyed eating and drinking and having fun.
Yeah, good for you. Well deserved, especially after winning the Ultimate Fighter. I see your son Zayden is competing in combat sports now a little bit. Tell me, how he's doing and what we might see in the future for this young man.
He's doing amazing, man. He's been training martial arts since he was about 4 years old. I had him on the mats, and he probably did his first jujitsu competition at around 5 years old, and has been competing jujitsu nonstop. I wouldn't even be able to begin to tell you how many jujitsu matches he even has. He's probably got about 100 gold medals, to be honest with you.
Wow.
And now that we ventured into doing some boxing, doing some kickboxing and MMA, so it's kind of cool in Louisiana. Kids can fight what they call pancration. It's kind of like youth MMA. So they can do cage fights with small gloves and small shin pads, but it's just no head strikes.
Mhm.
But they get their walkouts. They get to be a part of the show. They walk out to the cage with their team. You got your corner man in the corner. And he's only did one MMA fight, but he's done some boxing in the cage. And he's done some kickboxing in the cage. So he's kind of getting, a little bit of everything. And I've also, he's registered with USA Boxing. So he's undefeated in USA Boxing. So, I just want him to do a little bit of everything. I want him to get the experience. But, he's doing great.
I mean, with all the success that you've had in your professional career, him seeing that now, I have to imagine it really must motivate him, and seeing his dad excel and succeed, him believe that he can follow in your footsteps. What are his goals? Do you anticipate maybe one day that we're going to see him in the UFC?
I hope so, man. I know his goal is definitely to grow up and be just like me. His goal is to want to fight in the UFC, and like I said, man, he's already been training for so long. He's one of my helpers and instructors at my gym with all of the kids' classes. And just him being able to help and break down transitions and moves in the gym is making him better also. So, I mean, I think the sky's the limit for him. I think he'll be able to do whatever he wants. I mean, my goal for him is him not to actually have to go out and work a real job. Maybe he can have a gym one day or take over my gym and be a professional fighter. So him and then all of his siblings, because he's not the only one out of all of our kids. All of my kids train and fight jujitsu. So yeah.
That's really cool, man. Well, I saw that on your Instagram. I had to ask you about it. I'm sure you're very, very proud of all your kids. I also see, Kurt, that you've been doing a little bit of pro wrestling, right? There's a promotion. I think it's Pro Wrestling 225, if I'm not mistaken. Tell me a little bit more about how that came about and if you're going to do it more in the future.
So yeah, first off, it's Pro Wrestling 225. They're like a local, wrestling promotion around the area, and it's very much the same as like your local MMA shows. They go around, they'll schedule their shows out, and Pro Wrestling 225 is a pretty cool show. So what's going on is my old high school that I graduated from started a wrestling program. So now they got a wrestling program going at my old high school. And I guess the guy that started the wrestling promotion or the wrestling at the high school is a good friend of mine. I graduated him, or with him years ago. And he was bringing, I guess he's friends with some of these guys at 225. So he decided to bring a show to my old high school that I graduated from. So he calls me like, man, I would love for you to attend the show, because I think I even sponsored the high school wrestling team and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, let me do something. Like, I feel like I can really do some pro wrestling. That used to be my dream long before MMA, or when I was a kid. That's all me and my friends did was backyard wrestling, and so I feel like I can do it. And then I get there, I get to the event, and first guy I see is one of my old fight promoters that I used to fight for back in the day when I first started fighting. The guy that actually ran the fight video with Dustin Poirier, so Gil Guillory. He's in pro wrestling now. So he's like, Kurt, what are you doing here, man? I'm like, man, I'm coming out here and check out the show and hang out. And he was like, hey, why don't you do something with me tonight? Like, I want you to walk out with me. And I'm like, well, they already got something planned for me. He's like, all right, cool. Well, hey, man, let's go get in the ring. Let's go do some stuff. So we got in the ring and we started going. And it just felt natural to me. And I'm like, hey, man, let me take a bump. So like, you sure you want to take a bump? I'm like, yeah. It's like, do you know how? I'm like, got a pretty good idea. So boom, I take the bump on my back. And they're like, it's pretty good. So then I started hitting the ropes back and forth. They kind of showed me a little bit, showed me the ins and outs. And they're like, that's actually pretty good, man. So, then I played a little part at the end of the show, which was pretty cool. And then, yeah, man, hopefully you never know. I would like to do a little bit more.
Who was your favorite wrestler as a kid?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay. Who doesn't love Stone Cold?
So, yeah,
Yeah.
man, I think I started watching wrestling probably back in the 1997 or 98 era, back when it was definitely the WWF Attitude Era with The Rock and Stone Cold, WrestleMania 14 with Shawn Michaels. So, yeah, I've been known to be a big wrestling fan too. Not as
Yeah.
much lately or today's day, but back in the day, man, that's all I did.
That was the same era that I grew up in, watching it as well. So sometimes when I'm feeling nostalgic, I'll hop on YouTube and watch some of those clips, and it just gets me
Mhm.
rolling, man. They're not only are they all great athletes, but they're great actors too, to be able to do what they do. Do you hope that maybe one day, I mean, you just won TUF, so it seems like you could be a perfect candidate. Maybe make a stroll down and work for the WWE a little bit?
I mean, that would exceed my dreams and expectations. But yeah, for sure. And like I said, I feel like I can do it, man. And I haven't ever even been trained to do it. So I feel like once I go and I start getting trained, it would, I think things would just click and I think I'd be able to do very well.
Yeah, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. I'll be interested to see what happens for you moving forward, man. I got to recap, UFC 292, Boston. You get the big win, you beat Austin Hubbard, and you become the Ultimate Fighter. It's been a little while now, so I'm sure like everything obviously is set in, but can you take me back to that moment when you got the win, got your hand raised, the contract, the money, and all that? Like, what were the emotions like for you?
It's like a dream come true, man. It's everything I expected and it's everything that I wanted, and it's just, I feel like I've been fighting for so long. I've had my ups and downs. I've been in and out the UFC quite a few times, and it's just like this time, everything felt real. The times before, sometimes you get caught up in like, because I'm a small town kid, man. I don't really come from a whole bunch, and going out there and just fighting locally, and then all of a sudden, boom, I'm in Strike Force and I'm in UFC 159 with John Jones. I'm still like a kid, and I'm walking out in the lights, the cameras, and I'm like, I'm still in like a fan perspective. Like I feel like I'm watching this at home. Like I don't feel like that's me there, and I don't think I was quite ready to take advantage of my opportunity at that time. So the time between then and now is just, I feel like I'm one of these guys. I don't get starstruck when I roll up and I see all these other big name fighters. I feel like I'm one of them, and I'm there to prove a point and be the best in the world.
Scale of 1 to 10, how would you assess your performance against Hubbard?
I mean, I'm not going to give it a 10 because I think there's always room for improvements. I mean, I got taken down twice. I was able to get up, but of course, I would like to stuff those takedowns. So, I'm gonna be a little bit critical of myself, and I'll give it a 7.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you look pretty good in there, man. And for what it's worth, I try not to say this during interviews, but I'm going to tell you because you were so kind to me to do that short notice interview before that big fight. I won a little money on you that night for what it's worth. So put you in a little parlay, and I appreciate that, my man. What were the fans in Boston like? Because this is my home turf. I'm from the area. I know they can get some liquid courage and start yelling who knows what. What was that like competing in Boston?
No, it was actually pretty cool, man. The fans were great. The cool thing about it is, some of my other UFC fights, I might have been a little bit earlier in the night sometimes, and even when you're some of those earlier fights, the crowd doesn't pack the stands quite yet. But I felt like, for this one, it was a big crowd when I was able to fight, man. So I really felt a lot of energy from the crowd. The crowd was going crazy. Definitely a good crowd in Boston.
How'd you celebrate afterwards? You go out and have a couple of Guinnesses?
I wish, man, Boston stopped serving beers and all the bars closed down like very early. But here's the thing, like you don't even get to hang around and watch the fight. So after you fight now in the UFC, they take you straight back to the hotel. So we did. I made it back to the hotel just in time to chill in the little bar in the lobby, but they had like 30 minutes until they closed. And you got to think, I made it back before the main card came on, which I want to say is it 10 o'clock there? The main card comes on
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
Boston. So the bars start shutting down, and they're like, "Yeah, last call." So I got to drink a beer or two, man. Me and my coach, we even went out, tried to run to a 7-Eleven. It was right down the street from the hotel. We literally ran. They don't serve alcohol or beer, so like, oh well, maybe next time. But yeah, I just got to hang out with the family, man. I had all of my family there, my sisters, my coaches. So it was cool.
Would you have to say it was one of the more memorable moments of your life so far?
I think it definitely was the most memorable, just simply because I was able to get that win, and I've had some other cool moments like on the contender series when we was out in Vegas, I was able to get the win, but I didn't have all my kids there, I didn't have my wife at the time. So it was just good for all my kids to be able to watch me fight. And for most of my kids, that was the first time ever seeing me fight live, I believe, or maybe the second time. So, and then to get that win like I did on such a big stage was huge.
Yeah, man. Well, congratulations for that. You really looked great in there, and you looked, I mean, you overcame adversity during the season, and then you come in and you win the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, people got to be happy for you, man, even if they're not like, on your team, or, you're like they're a fan of you, so to speak. They have to be happy for you, everything you've overcome in your career to get to where you're at now.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate that. Hopefully, man, that's another thing too. I try to be good to all my fans. I'm like my social media has blown up quite a bit since the Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that, man. So, and I'm always getting fans hit me up, and I'm always trying to be as nice as I can. I'll try to get back to everybody that messages me and stuff like that. So, and sometimes it's hard, but I do what I can. But I appreciate everybody.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And it looks like Connor and Chandler are now matched for June 29th, which happens to be my birthday. So it's going to be a fun
Awesome.
fun day to have on my birthday, on to be able to watch some great fights. And it looks like they're going to be fighting at middleweight. I've seen Michael Chandler in person, and I know he's jacked, right? He's got a ton of muscle, but he's not very tall. So I
Mhm.
can't imagine like he gets much heavier than 185. Do you know if he even gets north of 185?
Yeah, I want to say he probably sometimes hits around 190. But like man, he's solid muscle.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've said before is something that he came out and told us on the Ultimate Fighter, that he's been that weight his entire career. He said, this is me, my entire career. Yeah, I cut down to 55, but this has been my body. Connor put on all this weight. He don't know how his body's really going to handle it when he goes to fight. He don't know if it's going to be slow or he just don't know. So, I think Chandler brought up a good point with that. But I think regardless what the weight is, 85, 70, um, I think Chandler still takes that victory.
Yeah. How do you see it actually going down? I mean, both guys are great on the feet. They've got a lot of power. Is this just going to be a fight where they stand and trade until someone falls?
If you've ever seen Michael Chandler fight, man, he's a crowd pleaser. That's what he likes to do. And if he can take those shots from Gaethje, I think he can take the shots from Connor. And I don't think. Well, I'm not going to say this, but who knows where Connor's heart's at, man? He's got everything he wants. I don't know if he's going to go through hell when Chandler wants to go through hell, like he did with Gaethje. I don't know if Connor will do a fight like that. So who knows if he folds? I kind of expect Connor to gas out like he kind of did in the previous fights that he's lost, and I see Chandler taking advantage.
That wouldn't surprise me, man. Did you see the post that Connor did on Instagram where he had this video of Chandler training his ass off and then Connor partying his ass off essentially. And at this level, I don't understand how you couldn't take it as seriously as Michael is. If Connor's partying and he's not taking it seriously, I think he's going to get stopped.
And I agree with that too, 100%. But the crazy thing about this sport is you can have guys go out, spend thousands of dollars on training camps, thousands of dollars on nutrition for nutritionists and meal preps. You can feel your best. You can do everything in your power to be the best you can be. Get in there and one punch,
Yeah.
and that could be within the first minute, and all of that goes down the drain. So that's the crazy thing about this sport. You just never know. Connor can be doing all this BS, all the partying, and he can just land that one crazy left hand that he has, and that can be it. So that's the crazy thing. But will it happen? We don't know. If we could, everybody would be rich. But I like Chandler's chances. I think he's a hell of a hard worker, and hopefully he can get it done.
Can't wait to watch it, man. Let me get your opinion on the champ of your division right now. I mean, Islam Makhachev, he looks amazing, a very difficult guy to kind of master that puzzle of what he presents in a fight. Is there anyone right now that you think realistically can beat him at 155? Gaethje, it looks like might get the next shot. I mean, we know how much power he has, but even still, I mean, Islam's so darn good. Like, do you see anyone beating him right now?
Of course, Islam's the man, man. He's the champ. He's doing what he's doing. He's a version of Habib. but I like I was saying, anything can happen on any night, and I'll give everybody in that top five a chance. Poirier, I give him a chance. Of course, I'm gonna give Gaethje a chance. Who knows? All it's gonna take is just something great. It's gonna take somebody fighting Islam how Volk fought him the first time. Somebody fights him like that, and just even if you can just get Islam off his game a little bit, you're gonna have a hell of a chance to beat him.
I thought it was a mistake on Volk's part to take that fight with Islam, the second one, on such short notice. Islam had been training for a title fight. Obviously 5 rounds, and Volk's coming in on such short notice. I mean, that's a tall mountain to climb against someone as good as Makhachev. Would you agree with that?
For sure, man. But you know, so some guys like that, and I'm kind of like the same thing too. I feel like I do well whenever I get sometimes some short notice stuff, because you don't have a lot of time to process. You don't have a lot of time to think so much into it. And for guys like Volk, I'm sure he was training the whole time. Might not have been fight camp training, but I'm sure he was training the whole time. And who knows what could have happened? That's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm sure Volk has been training, has been doing nutrition. I'm sure he was in shape.
Yeah.
But it was just that one high kick that caught him. Who knows what happens if he just somehow avoids that position that he got put in, right?
Yeah.
Of course, testament to Islam because it was not like it was an accident. Islam completely set that up. But if Volk could have just seen it a little bit sooner, was able to, pull, block, or get out the way of it, who knows how that fight could have went. It could have been equal to the first fight.
Yeah, very, very true. Tell me how camp has been for you, man. How has it been thus far? Who have been the main partners? Anyone different this time to get you ready for Trey Ogden?
Well, no, but like I said, man, me and my wife and my kids, we have 2 gyms. I go to each gym every other day. And a lot of my training partners, they'll go to both gyms. We'll go back and forth, right? So I got my normal training partners that I've been training with, forever. All the guys in my team, Gracie United, now we have our MMA team Holobaugh, that all the guys like going by. Got all my normal guys. Got my Raphael Elwanger, who is my head coach and professor in jiu-jitsu. Got my guy Scott Smith, who handles a lot of the out of the ring stuff locally for me. He shows up. He'll help do some strength and conditioning here and there. I got another guy, Matt Stock, that's one of our black belts. He came out to my gym like every Wednesday or Tuesday before the last fight, put me through hell of strength conditioning and cardio work. I got another guy that helps me a lot at my gym, Preston Thickpin. He holds pads, does a lot for me. I got my other coach in Mobile, Alabama, Jimmy Mills. He has a gym out there called Port City. I get out there a lot, work with him, work with a lot of his guys. Another one of my professional fighters that I coach, Carlton Terrence. Another professional fighter that I coach, Gage Gill, who just had a big win in CEFFC a couple months back, or about a month back. There's a lot, man. So many. It's hard to name right off the top of my head, but those are the guys that that I work with day in, day out, and we got a good group. David Gordon, Seth Dardar. I mean, guys that are really good. I do hope to change some things up a little bit. I would still like to get down to Kill Cliff. I would still like to get some training in with Chandler, Jason Stroud. I want to go back to some of my TUF coaches and get some training there. So I'll be hitting them up soon and maybe trying to get out there mid-February or something. I think I would like to do like mid-February up to like March 9th so I can go to the 299 card. Hopefully I get some tickets for that and hang out there, man, and then come home and finish up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was going to ask if you were going to be getting any work in with any of the guys from TUF, like Chandler Strout. So that's good to hear. Hopefully that does come to fruition. As far as fight night, are you going to have the normal guys in your corner?
Yeah, for the most part, I'll probably have the same guys that have been in my corner almost my entire career. That's Raphael, Jimmy, and Scott. Unless something changes, they can't make it, but that's been the guys there for me. So I'm sure they'll still be there.
Back at the apex, obviously here is that almost comforting? It's like going back home for a fight in a sense.
Yeah, everybody wants to fight in the big shows and the big crowds, but and of course I wanted to also, but at the same time I'm like, man, it doesn't matter. All I'm worried about is trying to make sure my family can go. My wife and kids. That's all I'm really worried about. As long as they can go, I don't care where it's at. And but yeah, I feel like I spent quite some time. I'm comfortable at the apex. I'm undefeated in Las Vegas technically. I haven't lost a fight in Vegas yet, so hopefully all the signs point well towards me. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm excited for this matchup with Trey Ogden. This guy's a ground specialist, 11 submission victories. I don't think he has any finishes on the feet, and we know how dangerous you are, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. Do you feel like, this particular matchup, it's just safer to stand and box, or do you want to go to the ground? I know how confident you are with your jiu-jitsu and your skill set there, but just tell me your analysis here when you look at the matchup.
So when I look at this matchup and I break it down a little bit, I definitely think the on the feet favors me a lot. But even me and Trey on the ground, I think we're very similar. We're both first degree black belts. Probably got our black belts close to around the same time. I think he does some competing in IBJJF. I've done some competing in IBJJF. He's won black belt matches. I've won black belt matches. So I really feel like our jiu-jitsu is gonna we'll be back and forth. I don't know if I'll be able to submit him. I don't know if he'll be able to submit me. It all depends. Now, with that being said, this is not a jiu-jitsu match, so we get to add elbows. We get to add punches. So if one of us go down, that opens up a lot more than your normal jiu-jitsu match. So I don't know, but I trust my jiu-jitsu. I've been training jiu-jitsu for a long time now. And I got just as many submissions on my record, I believe, as him, but a lot more dangerous on the feet.
Mm. He's 1-2 in the UFC. Have you studied that tape of his recent fights? Like, have you noticed any openings maybe that you're going to be able to take advantage of here?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. And honestly, I gotta agree with all of his fans that disagrees with that no contest. He should be 2-2 in the UFC. He was clearly winning the fight. Had arm triangle in the third round. The guy didn't tap, but that doesn't say he lost a fighter.
Mhm.
That he should be 2-2 in the UFC. So I mean, and I'm sure he's got a new contract with the UFC, so I'm sure the UFC agrees with that too. But yeah, you can always watch film and you can always see something that you like or you want to take advantage of. I'm sure he sees something that he likes and he wants to take advantage of on me. But it all depends on if we can get out there and do what we're training to do on fight night.
Do you anticipate finishing him? Like, what's your prediction for the fight?
Of course, I don't have a lot of decisions on my record of my wins. So of course, I definitely look to get in there, and I think I can finish anybody in the world. So I definitely think I can finish this guy, and hopefully I can. And really, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's by knockout or submission, but yeah, I think I can get the job done.
If that opening comes and you do capitalize, do you think this fight, does it happen early on, or do you think that the fans could be in store for a little bit of a longer fight?
I mean, it can always happen early. I have a lot of wins that I come out and I was able to catch the guy very early in the fight and put him away, whether it's a knockout or submission. So I mean, it all depends on how he comes out and wants to fight. If he's being more defensive and moving away from me a lot, trying to get me maybe to chase him a little bit, it might take a little bit longer because I'm not gonna want to chase a guy and get in a hurry. So it all depends on how he wants to come out and fight. If he wants to come out and take the center, then I give myself a good chance to get an early finish. If not, we got to play the game a little bit, and I got to see what I got to do. That's when the training comes into play.
Can't wait to see you back in there, Kurt. I was actually hoping you were going to be fighting at Atlantic City because that's close to me, and I'm hoping to be there at that one. But one of these days, hopefully, you'll come back to the East Coast.
Yeah, for sure, man. And that was definitely a card. I had Atlantic City eyed, and I'm like, man, that's a perfect date. What is that? That was that's the end of March, right? Yeah, I'm like March 30th.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, give me something March, April. I'll be
Yeah.
fine with that, you know. And but yeah, it's all good. We got March 23rd, Las Vegas. I love Vegas. So see what we can do.
Last thing for me, as long as you're healthy, when would you like to jump back in there next? What are your goals here for 2024 as far as fights go, and how many?
Yeah, I think it all depends. We'll see what opportunities come my way. I think that'll determine a lot. If I don't get no opportunities like fighting Patty or fighting ranked opponents, you know, try to get at least 3 fights in this year, if not, more. And I feel like I can do it. If I can do what I did on the Ultimate Fighter and stay healthy, I think I can definitely do it.
All right, my man. Again, March the 23rd, UFC Vegas 88, Kurt the Hurt Holobaugh back in action against Trey Ogden. As always, man, it's a pleasure to interview you. I appreciate your time. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. If there's anyone you want to thank, anything you want to plug, the floor is yours.
Yeah, for sure. First off, my podcast that I started, The Contender and the Pretenders, got to plug them. I feel like we're doing some cool things. Check it out on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. If you're a fan of fighting or just want to listen to us talk fights, all my training partners, my team, Grace United Team Holobaugh. Thank you guys.